Hi everyone, today Julia and Bella are going to show you why xenotransplantation is important to human beings. Here is the agenda, how we are going to discuss it. You probably already know what the organ transplantation means, but can you imagine creatures such as chimera, harpies, centaurs, or others that only appear in Greek mythology suddenly coming to your sight? Not just one or two, but a group of so-called organ range creatures. Do you think this is a science fiction thing? It may be a science fiction thing right now, but sooner or later it may be authentic. In 1954, Dr. Joseph Murray performed the first successful human-to-human transplant, a kidney transplantation between identical twin brothers. In the following decades, the technology of organ transplantation has kept to improve. Organ transplantation has become an effective therapy for end-stage organ failure and is widely practiced around the world and saves thousands of lives every year. According to WHO, kidney transplants are carried out in 91 countries. WHO estimated in year 2015, the global activity in organ transplantation, there are over 84,000 kidney transplantation, over 7,000 on liver, another 7,000 on heart transplantation, and so on. The numbers still keep increasing every year. Unfortunately, these advancements have resulted in transplantation becoming a victim of its own success, as waiting lists have increased along with the waiting time for donor organs. According to the U.S. government information on organ donation and transplantation statistics, in the United States, there are 116,000 people on the waiting list for life-saving organ transplant, and on average, 20 people die every day from the lack of available organs for transplant. For this reason, the use of animal organs for human transplantation is seriously being considered. This is so-called xenotransplantation. Before we go any further, we need to know these two definitions. Right here, we are going to talk about the narrow definition, allotransplantation. This type of transplant means the donor and the recipient are both of the same species. Here means human-to-human transplantation. Xenotransplantation, in human medicine, this type of transplant means using living non-human animal cells, tissues, or organs to treat humans. Here means animal-to-human transplantation. History of xenotransplantation. First, it's not a new concept. For example, the Lamassu has been selected as the mythology figure to represent the International Xenotransplantation Association and its official scientific journal. The late Keith Ritzma pointed out that possibly one of the earliest examples of xenotransplantation was the attempt by Daedalus and his son Icarus to fly across the sea from Crete to mainland Greece with the help of bird wings attached to their arms. Icarus failed his attempt, but Daedalus made the journey successfully. Blood transfusion. In the 17th century, Jean-Baptiste Denis began the clinical practice of blood transfusion from animals to humans. Not surprisingly, the result was mixed. Therefore, xenotransfusion was banned in France for a number of years. Skin. In the 19th century, cross-species skin transplantation became fairly popular, but with almost a non-success. However, it is widespread today to use the skin of frogs or pigs. Usually the skin are still alive, to cover an ulcer or burn-like skin, which can be protected at least for a number of days while healing. Corneal. In 1838, the first corneal xenotransplantation was performed in a patient. The surgery of blood vessel anastomosis. More scientific efforts had to wait until the 20th century. A French surgeon, Alexis Carrel, developed surgical techniques for anastomosis blood vessels, which enabled organ transplantation to be carried out successfully for the first time. For this work, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1912. Kidney. By 1963, Dr. Keith Ritzma A surgeon at Tulane University in New Orleans selected a chimpanzee as donor to transplant 13 chimpanzee kidneys into patients with renal failure. 12 of the transplants failed within 4 to 8 weeks due to the rejection or infection. The only one who survived for 9 months, then died without any symptoms of rejection. Heart. The most famous clinical cardiac xenotransplantation is known as baby Faye. She was born with life-threatening congenital heart disease. Therefore, Dr. Leonard Bailey transplanted a baboon heart into her. Then baby Faye died after 20 days because of the acute rejection. However, this surgical procedure was still thought as technically successful. Liver. Tom Starzl and his team in Pittsburgh performed 2 liver transplants from baboons into adult patients in the 1990s, with 1 patient surviving for 70 days. The results, however, were not successful enough to guarantee continuing this clinical trial. Islet. In 1930s, pig insulin was used to treat diabetes for the first time, but the first attempt of pig islet transplantation to treat the diabetes patients was done by a Swedish group headed by Carl Gross in 1993. The benefit of xenotransplantation: first, it can supplement human organs, thereby relieve the current shortage available for transplantation. So, it has the potential to satisfy the supply and demand of organs. Second, it can be a bridge organ before a destination organ can be found. So it can offer life-saving solutions to extend the life of a patient who is on a human transplant waiting list long enough. It allows the patient to gain some time for waiting for an organ from human donor. It can reduce opportunities on the black market for organ trafficking. Due to the transplant organ shortage problem, the organ trade, organ trafficking, and the transplant tourism is getting worse. This causes a serious ethical issue, and it can open up new areas of research, such as genetically modified pigs. After talking these numbers, history, and benefits, now we know why xenotransplantation is important. However, due to the process of xenotransplantation has not been perfect yet, it still has many risks that we have to overcome.
Some of the risks of xenotransplantation is disease transmission. This is called zoonosis, which is an infection of the humans by agents such as bacteria or viruses that are derived from animals. The infection may or may not result in symptoms of human disease, but there is a potential threat to public health. Some people worry it could be a major new epidemic. It also is a hurdle of xenotransplantation. The moral issues is also a main concern. It raises some ethical issues such as religious beliefs and animal welfare. So to touch base more on animal welfare, people believe that it is morally wrong to open up a pig just for the heart and think that it's going to go to waste. But however, the pigs are also used for other things such as research, meat, and organ donation. So that is something that that is a moral issue, but just people need to know more information on it. And the risk of a shorter lifespan from the animal organs. So usually animals have a much shorter lifespan than humans, and even if the successful rate of xenotransplantation improves a lot, there would still be a lot of risks of the organs wearing down or dying ahead of time. So that might mean that the patient needs to undergo many surgeries and many transplants in their lives. The high rejection rate. Currently, xenotransplantation still has high rejection rates. Therefore, strong anti-rejection drugs are necessary to depress the immune system and make sure it does not respond to health threats. And it should be, as we know, the pig heart valves and skin are still much easily accepted to the humans than the kidneys or the livers. So scientists are now working on a genetically modified pig to solve these problems. So as you can see here in the graph, the pig is getting its cells genetically engineered, and then it's going to go to the nuclear transfer, which is a cloning. And then once they get their genetically modified pig, they'll be putting their organs into the humans, and then those organs will be more receptive to the humans since they've been modified. And so some events that are going on is there's 20,000 Americans that receive a life-saving transplant each year, such as a heart, a kidney, a liver, or a lung, from people who have signed to be an organ donor or people whose relatives approved the donation. But 95% of U.S. Humans support the donation, but only 54 signed up, so that is a huge problem. And then in the graph, it shows that the biggest transplant in 2016 was the kidney. There was 19,062. So, I mean, that's a large amount, and for as many donors, we don't have as many as we need. And then it goes into the liver, which is 7,841, and then we have 3,191 in the heart, 2,327 in the lung. The kidney and pancreas is 798, the pancreas is 215, the intestines is 147, and the heart and lungs is 18. Xenotransplantation should be considered due to the amount of transplants needed in the U.S. Like Bella was saying before, there is not a lot of people that are welcome to being a donor, and as I said, there was only 54 signed up to be a donor, so we do need more donors to be signed up. There were about 33,611 transplants performed in 2016, and in order to do an animal-to-human transplant, the animal has to be of compatible anatomy and physiology for the intended organ to function well in the human. So, such as the pig, the anatomy is very compatible to the human. That is why the pig is chosen. And some ethical issues is a major problem in the human recipient and the rejection of the animal organ. So that is why we were talking about the bioengineering, because they're going to engineer that pig to make sure that the organs are more alike to the human, so that way there isn't a high rejection rate. And the main problem is the imbalance between the organ transplant request and the number of organs ready to be transplanted. So yeah, there's not enough people to donate their organs. And then animal welfare is also the main concern. So like I was saying before, people don't think that it's a morally right action, and it's unethical and unacceptable regardless of the consequences of the procedure and its effects on the humans or animals. And then also the transplant process, I mean, it's regarded to as unacceptable because the contradictory outcomes occur for both the animals and the humans, so people believe that it is morally wrong to do it. And then developed countries such as the US, Canada, and other countries, they tend to buy organs from poverty countries such as India, the Philippines, and Brazil. So in those countries, the ones that do buy the organs, wealthier people are the ones who tend to buy the organs from the poverty countries, and this is because poverty countries, they tend to sell their organs because they need the money to live, pay their bills, or just support their family in general. And on more of the medical side, when the poverty people do donate their organs, there isn't as much medical assistance as there is here in the US. So for us, yeah, we donate our organs and we're fine because we have medical assistance, we have doctors to make sure that we recover well, we recover quickly, and we don't have any infection. Well, due to the poverty countries, they just do the transplant and then they're kind of left on their own because they don't have a higher developed country as we do. So after their transplant, they tend to get sick, and they can possibly die from it because their infections get so bad. So they need a higher medical assistance over there than something like what we have here. But they don't think about that. They think about they have to support their family, so they need the money for their family. So they do donate their organs. So that is a major ethical issue as well. And xenotransplantation and bioengineering of organs are two promising new technologies to treat terminal organ failure. Both provide potential solutions to the worsening organ shortage facing allotransplantation today.